People in arranged marriages? What's it like? In my family, we were taught that appearances mattered most, and any crack was a threat to our survival. So when I was 17 and my older brother was arrested, all hell broke loose. His face was everywhere on TV with the words intimate, misconduct, and minors under his picture. I remember my mom pouring herself glasses of wine and my father making frantic phone calls. I thought I would be left out of this, but one day my mother suddenly grabbed my chin, forced me to look her in the eyes, and said, "You'll make this right. You're all we have left." I didn't know what she meant until the next morning when a politician twice my age showed up at our house, smiling and looking at me like I was his to claim. And I was. My father called him our salvation and called me the apology. It sunk in that I was being traded for a marriage certificate in exchange for the family name surviving one more generation. I didn't fight or cry, just nodded and slowly dissociated as the days passed by. After we got married, my husband told me what he expected of me. He wanted obedience, loyalty, and silence. He told me exactly what would happen if I embarrassed him, how easy it would be for a girl like me to vanish and never be found, how nobody would even ask where I'd gone. He finished off by saying, "You belong to me now." The abuse started immediately. He told me exactly what I could wear, skirts below the knee, nothing revealing, nothing he hadn't picked out himself. He made me stand in front of the mirror and list my faults out loud. When I forgot one, he'd fill in the rest. "You talk too much. You slouch. You're plain. You should be grateful I chose you." He controlled what I ate, listened to my conversations, and slapped me if I did something wrong. He'd then say, "One wrong move from you and your parents lose everything. Smile for the cameras and pretend you're happy or I'll ruin all of you." My parents and I only talked when they wanted proof that I was doing my duty and would tell me, "Don't ruin this. You know what's at stake." The breaking point came at a fundraising dinner. I stood at his side rehearsing the lines he'd fed me about what a blessing our marriage was. Every time someone spoke to me, he squeezed my shoulder, just enough pressure to remind me not to forget. But towards the end of the night, a woman from the city council asked how I was enjoying married life. I hesitated for half a second too long, searching for the right words. That's all it took. His hand found my wrist under the table, fingers digging into the same spot he'd bruised before. He kept smiling at the woman, answering for me, never breaking the performance. All I could do was nod, but when the event was over, I went to the bathroom, and the second I locked the door, I started sobbing. Not because of the pain, but because I couldn't keep living like this. Something inside me snapped, and that night, I decided I would finally tell someone the truth, because I had run out of anything else to lose. I told my old school counselor, and after she reached the right people, everything I'd hidden for a year was dragged into the light, just not the way I needed. When the story broke, my parents spun the narrative that I was unstable, that I was always sensitive, prone to dramatic episodes. They begged the public to pray for our troubled daughter. I watched the news in a motel room paid for with a credit card my father would soon cancel. I left town with nothing but a duffel bag, changed my name, cut my hair, and learned how to disappear. I worked nights in a diner, scraped together enough for community college. I was always looking over my shoulder. Sometimes customers would stare a little too long, whisper to each other, pull out their phones. I barely slept because no one around me wanted to let go of the past. My ex-husband even sent private investigators to track me down. When I moved apartments, I'd find notes taped to my door, some saying just my name and others saying come home. I changed my name again, moved across the country, took whatever work I could get. Sometimes when I saw my ex-husband on TV, shaking hands and kissing babies, I felt nothing. Not rage, not fear, just empty. Eventually, I started working at a shelter for women escaping violence. I didn't tell them my story, I just listened, drove them to appointments, and held their hands in court. One night, a woman said, "You remind me that survival is possible." I cried in my car for an hour before driving home. Now I'm 31 and I haven't seen my family since I ran, and I realized my husband was right about one thing. It was easy for a girl like me to vanish and never be found.